You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
Tools are getting better. Output is getting worse. Both are true.
Yeah, I mean, it is the massive paradox of building things right now.
Right.
Because the friction of creating is, well, it's completely gone. But the friction of actually trusting what gets created, that is higher than it's ever been.
It really is. And, as your resident vocal technologist, I've been trying to suss out how we actually build things, whether that's software, hardware, or brands, and trying to, pick it apart. There is this massive identity crisis happening in product development right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's this absolute explosion of what they're calling vibe coding, which is just wild.
It is wild, yeah.
You literally just type or even speak what you want,
Yeah.
and the AI just builds a functional app. Like Canva Code 2.0 is letting everyday users generate these entirely on-brand functional apps just by talking to it.
Exactly.
And then you've got Figma acquiring Bud, which is a vibe coding platform, and they dropped GPT 5.6 straight into Figma Make to auto-generate these complex, responsive layouts.
Which fundamentally changes the mechanics of creation, right? Like, think about how it used to be.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
Right. You'd have a designer wireframing a layout and then a product manager writing a massive 50-page specification doc.
Yeah.
And then a front-end developer arguing with everyone about the padding.
Always the padding.
Always. And a back-end developer wiring up the database. It took months. But now, take a company like Decagon, for example.
Right.
They build these AI customer experience platforms, and they are using these exact tools, Figma Make, autonomous coding agents. They use them to keep their design and their code in perfect sync.
So they're just, bypassing the human translation layer entirely?
Yeah, exactly. They're drastically speeding up their prototyping because there's almost zero back and forth revision time between a designer drawing a button and a developer coding it.
Wow.
The agent just watches the canvas and writes the React code in real time. It just happens.
Right, so here's the bit rattling around my head. I was reading this piece, and it's called Product Designers Are Liars.
Ouch. Very subtle.
Yeah, incredibly blunt. But the argument is, if the AI can do all the pixel pushing and the AI can write the React code flawlessly, what are senior designers actually doing?
Well,
Like, are they just getting paid $150,000 a year to make bloated strategy decks and hide from actual design work? I mean, are they having a lend?
it is a fair question. It is. But I think it requires a total reframing of what human value actually is in a creative process.
Okay, how so?
Because the value of humans is shifting away from production. Production itself is becoming commoditized.
Right.
So the value is shifting entirely to outcomes. There's this brilliant concept floating around that taste cannot be delegated.
Okay, wait, let me push back on that, though. Is that actually true?
I think so, yeah.
Because if an AI analyzes, say, 1 million successful checkout screens on the internet, isn't that just aggregating human taste?
Well,
Why do we need a human to have taste if the algorithm knows exactly what the customer clicked on last time?
because the machine knows what was successful statistically,
Yep.
but it doesn't know why. It has absolutely no context. It has no intent. And most importantly, it has no responsibility for what it creates.
That's a good point.
Think of it like this. AI is like a lightning-fast line cook.
Okay.
It can chop 10,000 vegetables instantly. It can fry 1,000 steaks perfectly just based on a temperature algorithm. But the human designer is the head chef.
And the head chef is the one who decides what's actually on the menu for that specific night.
Precisely. The head chef decides the menu based on the weather, the local produce, the mood of the dining room.
Right. Yeah.
The head chef tastes the soup to see if it needs a bit more salt, and they stake their entire reputation on the meal that goes out to the dining room. So AI generates options, but humans exercise judgment.
But the quiet part nobody's really saying out loud is the sheer cost of speed right now. Because honestly, a lot of companies are just firing the head chefs.
Yeah, they are.
Look at when Sonos gutted their top UX research and design ranks.
That was brutal.
It was. We're talking about people with a decade of tenure, VPs, heads of research, and the CEO called it a push for speed in removing management layers, which, sounds great to the shareholders.
Oh, shareholders love it. But that highlights the exact danger of optimizing purely for velocity.
Yeah.
Because when you cut human judgment out of the loop entirely, you risk destroying the institutional knowledge that built your premium reputation in its first place.
Completely.
Think about the mechanism of what happens there. Sonos is known for premium, thoughtful hardware and software integration, right?
Exactly.
That doesn't come from a predictive algorithm just guessing where a play button should go geometrically.
No, it comes from a researcher watching 100 different people get frustrated trying to group two speakers together in a living room.
Exactly. It comes from a deep human understanding of how someone feels when they just want to listen to music. So when you fire that middle layer of researchers, you lose the friction absorbers.
Right.
You lose the people whose entire job was to say, no, this automated flow is confusing for a real person.
So we end up in this really weird spot.
Yeah.
Because if anyone can just vibe code a perfect-looking app in 5 minutes, then a slick interface no longer proves a company is legitimate.
No, not at all.
It used to be that if a website looked incredible, clean typography, perfect drop shadows, you trusted it because it meant they had money and a real team.
Yes.
But now, a slick UI might just mean some bloke spent 5 minutes typing a prompt. It honestly feels heaps dodgy.
You are touching on a massive trust deficit here, and there's actually a fascinating case study in educational technology about this exact problem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, generative AI completely broke the link between a platform looking credible and actually being credible.
Right, because the AI can just completely hallucinate a historical event,
Right.
get all the facts entirely wrong, but then present it in a beautifully formatted, highly professional-looking interface.
Exactly, and your brain just accepts it because it looks official.
That's terrifying.
It is the exact psychological trap we're falling into. So, to fix it, designers in edtech had to completely rethink their job. They had to rebuild trust using intense quality signals.
Okay, quality signals.
Yeah, it was no longer about making the page look minimalist and nice. It was about proving truth. They actually had to add visual friction back into the interface.
What does a quality signal actually look like on the screen, though?
So it looks like highly transparent textbook sources anchored right next to the text.
Ah,
It looks like highly visible expert validation with real names, headshots, credentials. They basically built massive evidence sections specifically to combat AI hallucinations. Yeah, they had to redesign the entire interface around confidence and proof rather than just, smooth aesthetics.
I'm genuinely surprised by that. Just the realization that good design now essentially just means proving a human was involved in the work.
It really comes down to a concept called provenance.
Provenance, right.
Like, where did this come from and who made it? For functional tools, say a calculator app or a basic checkout screen, we don't really care who made it. We just want it to work.
Yeah, I don't care if AI built my calculator.
Exactly. But for expressive work, for information that actually matters, authorship is everything. We need to know a human stands behind it.
Which is driving absolute rebellion, by the way. People are literally inventing ways to hide their humanity from the machines. I've got to tell you about Ghost Font.
Oh, the anti-AI typography. Yes, I love this example.
It's brilliant. So this AI researcher, Eric Liu, created his optical illusion typography. It's entirely made of moving dots.
Right.
Now, because of how human motion perception works, you and I can look at a screen of these moving dots and easily read the hidden text. Our brains just stitch it together.
We just see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wait, how does moving dots baffle an AI? Doesn't the AI just look at the video the exact same way we do?
No, and that is the key difference in the mechanism. AI doesn't watch a video with optical continuity like a human brain does. AI models analyze video frame by frame. Oh, right. They slice the video into individual static images, and when an AI looks at a single frame of Ghost Font, it doesn't see letters. It literally just sees random static noise.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's completely baffled because the letters only exist in the movement between the frames. And the machine's analytical process completely destroys that movement.
So it's a literal anti-AI defense mechanism. Like, we're building optical illusions just to have a private conversation.
Pretty much.
By the way, if you reckon conversations like this are worth your time, just check on your notifications so you don't miss the next one. Anyway, it's wild that independent creators are having to invent these visual optical illusions just to hide their work from the machines. Because at the exact same time, the biggest tech giants on the planet can't even hide their own secrets from each other.
Oh, the IP wars.
The IP wars are massive right now.
Yeah.
Like, Apple is suing OpenAI over the theft of trade secrets.
Right. Allegedly through former Apple employees who joined OpenAI, and they supposedly took incredibly sensitive proprietary design information with them.
Yeah. But you already know how messy the Jony Ive split from Apple was.
Oh, yeah.
And now it is hitting the legal fan. Apple's legendary former design chief has this new hardware startup called I/O Products, and they are partnered directly with OpenAI. And the legal teams reckon OpenAI might actually force Jony Ive to testify.
Which would be incredibly uncomfortable for everyone involved.
All heaps awkward.
The irony is thick, right? The guy who designed the glowing rectangle that essentially defined the last 2 decades is now tasked with replacing it.
Yes.
Because if we connect this lawsuit to the hardware they're actually building, it shows just how high the stakes are for the next paradigm.
What are they building?
Well, OpenAI is reportedly building a screen-free, portable smart speaker that's just packed with cameras.
Right.
Meanwhile, Apple is working toward AirPods Ultra with contextual cameras built in. What we're seeing is that the interface has left the building.
The interface has left the building. That is heaps interesting. Unpack what that actually means for a designer.
It means we are moving away from screens entirely. The new interfaces are voice, chat, and autonomous agents.
Okay.
So the design challenge is no longer where to place a menu bar or how to round the corners of a button. It is how an AI agent understands your intent through a camera and a microphone.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, how does it know you're looking at a specific pair of shoes in a physical store, and how does it communicate the price back to you without a screen to show you the text?
That's a massive shift.
Yeah.
But what happens when big tech optimizes these entirely new, invisible interfaces for the wrong things?
Well, we've seen it.
Right, because we already have a terrible track record here.
Hmm.
We get dark patterns on steroids. I mean, look at Meta having to pull its Muse Image AI tool in 3 days. 3 days.
That was a disaster.
It was a complete privacy nightmare because actors like Hannah Einbinder and the SAG-AFTRA union absolutely revolted. Meta basically made it so users could generate AI images from any public social media account by default.
And that isn't just an isolated mistake either. That is a symptom of a much larger design philosophy issue at Meta.
Yeah.
The European Union formally found Meta breached laws with their addictive designs. They specifically called out the infinite scroll, auto-playing videos, and relentless push notifications.
Wait, the EU is actually going after the infinite scroll itself.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's huge.
It's massive because Facebook's design didn't actually evolve over the last decade. It regressed. They systematically swapped user control, like literally clicking to see the next page of updates for these algorithmic feeds.
So what's the actual psychological mechanism there? Like, why does frictionless scrolling exhaust the human brain so much?
It's based on this psychological experiment called the bottomless soup bowl.
Okay.
Basically, when you remove visual stopping cues, humans will consume up to 70% more without even realizing they are full.
Oh, wow.
Right. So applied to software, when you remove the friction of clicking next page, you drastically increase the cognitive load on the user.
Because you never get a break.
Exactly. Your brain is constantly trying to make this subconscious decision of should I stop now, while the dopamine from the variable reward just pushes you to keep going. It completely destroys the clarity of the platform. You don't go to Facebook to see what your mates are doing anymore. You go to be paralyzed by a frictionless, endless stream of content.
That's entirely accurate.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid building the next infinite scroll nightmare in this new AI era? Because if an AI can vibe code anything instantly, it feels like we're just going to drown in poorly designed, highly addictive digital junk.
Well, currently, AI interfaces are like the early Wild West of the web.
Yeah.
Every company is just doing their own thing. There's no consistency at all. Your AI agent from one company has completely different rules than an agent from another.
It's a mess.
It is. The playbook for right now, the only way out of this, is establishing shared open web standards for AI.
Like HTML, but for AI behavior.
Spot on. We need universal shared protocols for how these AI systems operate. How do they universally cite their sources so we can verify them? How do they request permissions from a user to access a camera? And most importantly, how do they smoothly hand a task back to a human when they get confused?
Because they will get confused.
They absolutely will. And if we don't build these open standards right now, the big tech walled gardens are just going to lock us in with proprietary, incompatible, invisible interfaces.
Yeah, I'm keen to talk about focus here, actually, because resisting the urge to just build everything just because the AI makes it easy is really hard.
It is the hardest part.
Tim Cook brought up this philosophy of creative focus for Apple's milestone 50th year. It's this idea that true depth only comes from the painful process of rejecting thousands of decent ideas to focus on a few meaningful ones.
Because restraint is the absolute hardest part of design. It's easy to add features. It is incredibly difficult to edit them away.
It is, and sometimes physical realities are the only things that force that restraint.
Sure.
Like, look at the rumors around the Apple Pencil redesign.
Yeah.
They were having to completely re-engineer it for EU replaceable battery compliance. You can't just ship a software patch to fix a glued-in battery. Hardware actually has to adapt to physical and legal realities in a way that software often completely ignores until a massive lawsuit hits anyway.
Which brings us directly back to the human element we started with, really.
Right.
In a world where software can just be instantly generated, the things that feel intensely physically human are going to be the only things that stand out.
Exactly. And, the ultimate palate cleanser for all this sterile, hyper-optimized tech UI.
Yeah.
Look at the Tinder rebrand.
Oh, a fascinating, totally counterintuitive choice.
It's brilliant. Like, they could have gone with cold tech minimalism because it scales globally, right?
Yeah.
But instead of leaning into cliche dating app graphics or that frictionless aesthetic, they leaned entirely into the voice of a witty dating columnist. They embraced all the messy contradictions of Gen Z. They used authentic, raw, flash-style photography. It doesn't feel like an algorithm trying to match data points and maximize engagement. It feels intensely messily human.
And that ties everything we've discussed together perfectly. Because an algorithm would never suggest raw, badly lit flash photography.
Never.
It would suggest perfectly polished, symmetrical faces. But dating is inherently awkward and messy.
Very true.
So as AI takes over the execution, the pixel pushing, the vibe coding, the algorithmic sorting, the most valuable thing a designer can do is apply restraint.
Yeah.
The job is to establish those open standards, to rigorously edit out the endless stream of junk, and to fiercely protect the human element. The future of product development isn't about making things faster or more frictionless. It's about making things that people actually trust.
It really makes you think differently about where we put our energy. I keep going back to that ghost font from earlier. There's just something profoundly weird about humanity having to invent optical illusions just to have a private conversation where the bots can't read our words. We are literally building fences out of moving dots. Turn on those notifications, and I'll catch you next time. Vocal Technologist, see you soon.
Spoken Tech for your ears.